My guest today is Jambo Naphula. He is one of those traveling artists who goes around the world performing and making music to make people happy. He's a singer, a rapper, an explorer, a producer, an improv actor. Good grief. Jambo, what don't you do? Welcome to Speaking of Travel.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't cook too well. So, yeah, that's something.
Well, that's something. You don't cook too well, but it looks like you do a lot of things really well. And I'm just so excited to finally have you here on Speaking of Travel. So tell us, Jumbo, where are you speaking to us from today?
Right now, I'm speaking to you from Cape Town, South Africa.
Wow. So you are way on the other side of the world, and you
Hmm.
seem to be always somewhere. You are like a troubadour. You are always on the road. Give us a little backstory, Jumbo, of how this came to be what you have chosen as your life journey.
I think that definition of troubadour is just perfect. I see myself as a modern day troubadour. So, this actually goes way back to my childhood. But I'll just wrap it up a bit quickly because it's a long story. So actually, my parents, especially my dad, he worked in the military. So when I was a kid, we were forced in a way, my brother and I, to travel with my parents to different parts of the world because of my dad's job. So I was born in Spain, but we grew up in the States, in Spain. Then we moved to England, spent 4 years there, then back to Spain. We traveled together in between to different countries. So that traveling vein has been coming from a long time ago. And just recently that I mean it's never stopped, but recently just like exploded. Let's say since the end of 2020, that's when I think I was literally like, you know what? I don't have any strings attached right now. Let's go out there, even if it was like proper COVID times. But uh, you know, I was like, let me live this moment. Let me just travel. So that was the first time I went to South Africa and started to make music there. But yeah, more or less in a nutshell.
My goodness. Well, you definitely had a good starting off point being there in Spain and then being able to jump off and already be familiar, even as a young person, to be familiar with other cultures and seeing that people are
Mhm.
people everywhere that you went. Were you always an artist and a singer? Is that like something that you've just been blessed with?
I was always into music. My dad, he will always play all types of music. So it's not that I was just focused on one genre. So kind of thanks to that, uh, I I like to embrace different musical genres in my music. But so I started just listening to all types of music thanks to my dad. Uh, when I was maybe like 10 years old, I started playing the cello. So I started with classical music. That was when I was living in England. Yeah. And at the same time, I started with beatbox. So it was like an amazing moment of exploring myself in the musical world and in different types of music, like completely opposites, let's say. And then from there, I went from to two different genres and styles of music. So hip hop, soul, gospel. But yeah, basically, that's kind of how it started, actually, with the classical music, funny enough.
Well, that's definitely a great foundation to jump off of. You've got such depth
Hmm.
right there. And then you started traveling. So you're traveling and you're singing and you're playing music. And how were you able to put this into motion? Did you just say, I'm going to get a one-way ticket to Africa and see what happens? Or was there some kind of a plan in motion?
I think it was inevitable for it to explode how it exploded because I actually was doing it since I was a kid already. All the traveling, it's like part of me already. And then the music I started when I was 10. I started making music when I was 10 with the cello and beatboxing. So since that moment, it was already there. And I was in England, then we moved to Spain. And, inevitably, it was there, but I hadn't like noticed in the way that, okay, this is what I want to do for a living. You know how it is. This is like something different from what society might want. Let's put it that way. So it took a while for me to actually realize that, okay, wow, I'm a traveler and I'm an artist. It was there, but at one point, especially 2020, that's when I realized that, okay, I'm a traveling artist.
And did you have you went to Africa at that point. Did you get solid in Africa once you were there? Was it like, an epiphany that this is where I need to be and be spending a lot of time and being with the people?
Well, the first time I went to Africa was in 2017. That was the first time. And actually, it was to Mozambique. And well, it happens to many people. When you go to Africa, it like completely changes your whole vibe. So that's what happened. Like my whole world just changed because you learn so much, so many values. You see so many things, amazing people, music also. It's mind-blowing. So that definitely changed my whole story. And from that moment on, I've been going to Africa every single year since 2017. So I'm addicted to Africa, and it's a big part of my musical style also.
Wow. Well, I think they're addicted to you too, Jambo. I think that it's a mutual admiration society. I've watched your YouTubes and seen just the love that comes from you and the people. How can people watch these YouTubes and get to know you as they're listening to us talk?
So you can check my YouTube channel. That's Jambo Naphula, JamboNaphula. And also on Spotify, Instagram, wherever you feel like, I'll be there. Yeah, you can check it out.
Well, we are going to check it out, and I'm looking forward to coming back and talking more about the vibe that you're carrying around with you and that is attracting so many people. But, Jambo, what was that style of music that you were talking about that you do?
Beatbox.
Yeah. What does that sound like? Give me just a quick example as we go to break.
Speaking of travel, speaking of travel.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to look forward to more of that when we come back from the break. Well, this is Marilyn Ball. You're listening to Speaking of Travel. We've got a nice groove going on, so come back and listen to more with Jambo Naphula. We'll be right back, so stay tuned.
Check it out.
Got a vicious boy.
And Jambo.
Tandala chabe. Mwana shanda ena tashanyi no kunaya. Wikala pola le file fie waya. Sondeli kalamba sana. Mutimo file wa kutwala.
Welcome back to Speaking of Travel. I'm your host, Marilyn Ball, and I'm excited. I have with me today Jambo Naphula. And Jambo, you love traveling, you love art and music, and I want to talk a little bit about your travels and your lifestyle. So when we talk about you being a vagabond, I think of somebody who's just so fun-loving and happy-go-lucky, and looking at your videos, it just looks like, oh my gosh, you just have so much fun. What is it like for you to go out there and meet these people and then just create this wonderful, joyous adventure?
It's the best life I can ever live. I say that life is good. I mean, I've worked for it. I've worked to get to this point, don't get me wrong. But the amazing thing is that I love my work. And just I'm just truly blessed. So if I feel truly blessed and truly happy, then whatever I make, whether it be music, comedy, performances, whatever, it's gonna have that energy. And you just said it, like meeting these amazing people, going to these amazing places. It's just a constant flow of inspiration. So I'm just like constantly inspired to create. And when I meet different artists from different parts of the world, and to be able to create with them, it's just like mind blowing. So yeah, it's hard for me to even express like the pure joy that this brings to me. But kind of like this joy that I get from people and from traveling is what I want to transmit with my art.
Well, you do. You do that really beautifully because everywhere it seems that you go, you are bringing this sense of joy and happiness and sameness, that we're all together, we're all the same. And on that note, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of your travels because you've been to some places that not a lot of people have been privy to go to, specifically Palestine. Let's talk a little bit about that journey and how you ended up getting there, Jambo.
So I was going to visit two friends of mine that I actually met in South Africa. Two friends of mine that they were living in Saudi Arabia. So I was actually going to visit them there. But they were like, you know what? We want to go to Israel. Let's go there to Jordan also. So, we just we adapted. So we ended up in Israel. And I was really, really, really intrigued and curious about Palestine because I had heard about it so many times on the news, and it's, all bad, all negative, fighting, war. That's why no one wants to go to Palestine. Not even the Palestinian people can go there. The ones that are out, they can't go inside. So I was very much intrigued to find out for myself, So we embarked on a trip inside Palestine because also there's Bethlehem. There's so much history, but also apart from history and the people and the culture, you get art like street art, like Banksy. I don't know, you've probably heard of Banksy, but well, Banksy is like one of the most amazing street artists in the world. And just to see his art and his murals there in Palestine was like mind blowing. So we get there, and the people were so welcoming, so nice, like hard to explain. But like, for example, we will need to catch a taxi, and they would help us because we had no idea where to go to. Everyone would help us, even pay for our taxis. Like, no, don't worry, we pay for your taxis. Invite us to eat, to dance with them. We ended up in some Palestinian party and dancing with everyone. And one of the most shocking moments was also when we visited the wall, the famous wall that separates Israel from Palestine, or we can say Israel from the West Bank, depending on the points of views. But yeah, just being there and seeing that wall with all the murals, yeah, that was very touching because you can feel the pain that was there. And yeah, it was a true game changer for me to actually see that. But yeah, it was a blessing to be there and to actually break that prototype of a dangerous, not welcoming Palestine.
Wow. Well, you obviously we're so moved, and one thing travel I know really does is you take those experiences and they become almost part of your DNA, right? Like it becomes who you are as you tell your stories and incorporate that. Let's talk about your stories and your music, Jambo, and where you're going from here, and what we can expect as we start following you more.
Yeah, well, right now we are here at Cape Town. I'm here to release my EP, an EP that I recorded here with local artists, some of the best jazz artists, and well, not only jazz, but some of the best musicians here. It's a 4-track EP that's coming out next week. You will be able to check that out on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, everywhere, all the platforms. We're going to release a music video for one of the tracks, and there will be more music videos, one of them featuring local artists, and you will even get to hear me singing in Hausa, the local language here.
Wow. Give us, what does that sound like?
Hausa.
What does that sound like? Like, what does that language sound like?
Oh. So, we were talking about beatboxing. So it's like a language that has some beatboxing because it's with clicks. It's with like abeja or waisnakekisa, conjunto, and those kind of words. So beatboxing very much helped me in this sense.
Well, you've just made yourself right at home. Well, tell us again, Jambo, how we can all follow you and watch these YouTube videos and really tune into this new EP that you're launching. We're excited to know you and want to bring you into our world. So tell us how we can get more info.
Yes, so for more Jambo Naphula, just go on Instagram, YouTube, even Facebook if you want, Spotify, everywhere. And that will be JamboNaphula.
Wow. Well, Jambo, I can't thank you enough for being on Speaking of Travel. It always goes by so fast, and I'm going to look forward to having you back on so we can catch up with you as the year goes on and find out more about what you're doing and just be a part of your world because you make people happy. And that makes me happy. So thank you so much for being here on Speaking of Travel today.
Thank you, Marilyn, for having me here. It's been a great pleasure.